As human beings, we have to account for that time. And today, we are counting for 20 years on matters research, not only in Kenya, but Africa and the globe. And right now, today actually, we are talking about Africa Population and Health Research Center celebrating 10 years, 20 years rather, that is 10 years. And we are about to have quite an engagement in regards to matters research in this country and the world. So the theme of our discussion today, if you're joining us, is African Solutions to Health and Development Challenges, mainstreaming Africa-led research for national, regional, and global policy influence. All right, and my name is Nokip Kimbo. I'll be handling this particular panel, heavy panel. I know the experience here academically, it takes me several lifetimes to achieve that. I'm glad. So starting at the far end, our host, she is actually the person who's opened her doors to welcome us here is Dr. Catherine Chobutunji, Executive Director, APHRC. Welcome to this wonderful panel. I know you were here yesterday, but this morning, looking sharp as always. What's the feeling around these 20 years, Catherine?
The feeling is one of excitement, of joy, I would say, and I think a bit of anxiety about the future, but good anxiety. I think you need to be anxious to be motivated. So we're very excited about the future, much as we're excited about the last 20 years and what we've been able to achieve.
That's beautiful. You know, I'm reminded of do not be anxious about anything, but that's a different perspective to it. You have to be anxious to be motivated. Beautiful. Glad to have you on this wonderful panel. Up next to her, we have Professor Alex Eze, who's from Drexel's Donsah School of Public Health. And Professor, we were just talking about earlier on, we were chatting where you were born, yeah? And when we ask where you're born, we ask proximity from Lagos, because that's all we know of Nigeria. But how's the feeling this morning, sir? The microphone is on?
It is on. Thank you, Noah. The feeling is fulfillment, proud, and truly grateful for what we are celebrating here today.
Wow, amazing. Thank you very much, Professor Alex Eze. Up next to Professor, we have Professor Tom Kariuki. I think we decided to put the professorials next to each other. Just to lessen the tension. Professor Tom Kariuki is the Executive Director, Science for Africa Foundation, SFA. And earlier on, Prof, we were talking about the building that you're in. Some of the buildings have very huge logs, and you're saying it's new times. Even as you see this celebration of 20 years, what's new this morning?
First of all, I think it...
Yeah, we can just change microphones. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, congratulations to APHRC. I mean, this is... I think when you're in this kind of an environment and we are celebrating a final, it tells a lot about what has changed in Africa. A lot has changed. And I think you'll be asking questions about what has changed. But yes, our building where we are occupied belongs to the past. Architectural is very, very beautiful, but there's no way you're going to be allowed to be compared to go into the forest looking for logs that are going to be holding a building from roof to the floor.
Exactly.
We are in a completely different environment now, and we have obligations and responsibilities to our own environment.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Prof. I'm glad you've mentioned logs. The only logs we can deal in right now is if you're logging into an account, yeah? I know, I've practiced on my dad jokes, trust you me. Anyway, up next to Professor Tom Kariuki, you have Dr. Fiona Wanjiku Muyes. I was asking you earlier on, Dr. Fiona, you're the CEO of course, Mawazo Institute. I was asking, what's the meaning of the word Muyes? Because it's quite an interesting name. You say it's Dutch, of Dutch origin, and you say you don't know. What are you expecting from this panel?
Thank you so much, Noah. Thank you for having me. It's really, really exciting to be here and celebrating APHRC at 20 years. So thank you for having us. I'm just really excited to really speak openly about research and the importance of research in Africa's development with a much broader audience rather than in our silos, in our kind of close network of researchers, to really get everyone, the citizens and everybody involved in this conversation. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad you said that we need to open that door. You know, when you think about research, just ask your neighbor, what do you think when you're told somebody is a researcher and you have not met them in person? Most likely glasses that have very strong lenses, yeah? You know, closed off, maybe genius-like mannerisms, but research is part and parcel of our daily lives, and we need to be concerned about that and what happens in that sector. Glad to have you, Dr. Fiona. And lastly, we have Caroline Kariuki, who's the CEO of Kenya Private Sector Alliance. Glad to see you, Caroline. I know earlier on, Larry was talking about your red dress coming in and the music that was playing, a proper convergence of a moment. And this moment, what's top of your idea? What are you hoping to accomplish from this panel?
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I really am excited that you are 20 years, and KEPSA is also 20 this year. So it's a double celebration, and we look forward, and I think we'll invite you for our 20 years, and we can celebrate together. But I think for me, the excitement is that there's a big convergence between private sector and research. You know, private sector cannot operate without research. You know, they need to know so that you can make decisions for business is so important.
Okay.
You know, and so the whole area of health, population is a very key area for private sector. And so I'm looking forward to that conversation, not only from the panel, but also hearing from everyone else and what that means as we look forward to another 20 years.
Beautiful. Wow. So essentially you've told Dr. Catherine, twinsies, you know, we are twins because 2020, it's beautiful. Amazing, amazing. So quick question, even as we proceed to the first question, I want you to speak to the person sitting next to you. I know there's a social distance situation, but ask them, 20 years ago, where were you? What were you doing? 20 years ago. Somebody's like, I was in a lab, you know, I was mixing chemicals. 20 years ago, I was 8 years old. 20 years. Now you appreciate how much time has come, right? That is 20 years. Yes. Some people are like, I had a baby 20 years ago, and now they're all grown up. They want to be artists. They don't want to do research. Anyway, beautiful. Thank you for that engagement. Now can I have your attention? And we start with Dr. Catherine. When you talk about research, it doesn't exist in a vacuum, all right? There is a reason why you research, why you invest in that. And there's always a plan somewhere. In Africa, we have, you know, the Africa AU Agenda 2063. Every now and then I hear people mentioning the SDGs. These are parameters that we can sort of use to measure how much milestone we're making as a society. Now, juxtaposing those targets vis-a-vis where Africa is, from where you sit, are we hitting those targets, or are we in the space of, you know, as young people will call it, just vibes and inshallah, and things just pan out the way they should be?
I think I would say yes and no. Africa is meeting several targets in some respects. In other respects, not so much. And even where it's meeting targets, the progress is not that everybody is moving together. So if you look at the African continent, you'll find some countries are doing well. In some respects, other countries are not. If you go in the same country, a country like Kenya has made tremendous progress in the reduction, for instance, of childhood mortality. But if you dig under the surface, you'll find that maybe Nairobi and Central have moved very far, but other parts of Kenya have not. So even when you look at progress, there's a lot of progress in many respects, elements of health. If you look around, whether it's childhood mortality, whether it's maternal mortality, lots and lots of progress have been made. But the question is it enough? And I would say the answer is no, because there's no reason why children should die before the age of 5 at all. So for me, the ideal target is 0. Whether it's achievable or not is another matter. So progress has been made.
Okay.
But we still have some challenges in terms of inequity. The progress is not uniform within countries or across countries. It's not uniform in all the important indicators. So yes and no.
Okay, it's both worlds, yeah? And Professor Alex, I mean, your focus has been on urban slum health, population dynamics in sub-Saharan Africa. And when you listen to Dr. Catherine, saying we've made progress in some quarters and not so much progress in other quarters. When you talk about health and population, the convergence of the two in this continent, how far off are we on some of the targets that have been made that we should achieve as a continent?
Thank you, Noah. I think one of the things we do know about population is Evelyn gave the statistics yesterday, maybe some of us missed it, that between now and 2100, the global population will add another 1.5 billion people.